It has been said that long ago on the island of Antigua, there was an especially fertile place. It's a land of rolling hills, rich red clay and coastal waters teeming with fish. This land also possessed a very special stream. According to folklore, whenever the alien bathed in this stream, they were healed just like those were at the pool of Bethesda in the Bible. Though this story is clearly a myth, the principle is true. The place in Antigua that would become known as Bethesda was indeed a place where the inhabitants moved from systems of brokenness to an environment that helped to bring renewal, healing, and hope. The movement of the people of Bethesda Christian Hill from brokenness to renewal began in the early 1800s when slavery was still king in Antigua. It was an oppressive system that sought to abort the potential of those under its grip. Nowhere was oppression more evident than in the bilbo, that underground dungeon in which non-compliant slaves were shackled for days or weeks on end, depending on the severity of the transgression. But the grip of the king was weakening as the enslaved recognized and embraced the possibility of a better life. They were not alone in this vision. A missionary and his wife, too, were driven by a desire, a mission of bringing release, restoration, and true life to the oppressed. They were a living representation of the principle of the pool of Bethesda.
Charles Thwaites and his wife Elizabeth, they were missionaries. They were working at the Nelson's dockyard then, and they traveled each week to Lyon's estate to preach and teach to the slaves from the surrounding estates. They yearned for an area where they could get all the slaves into a place possibly even closer to them as well, and they found that spot at Chapel Hill overlooking Willoughby Bay and said this would be a lovely spot for us. Where the Bethesda Methodist Church stands on Chapel Hill now, all of that area was part of Blake's estate. So all of this area was fallow land. They got ownership of the land, and through the head slave, his name was Vigo Blake, they constructed a school.
Slavery was eventually abolished in 1834. Out of necessity, the freed slaves stayed on the estates, but they got sick of it and decided to leave for that better place.
After emancipation, we find that the slaves were moving towards the other areas from the plantation
to form their own villages. Mark you, most of those villages that were formed, certainly in that time, were still close to the plantations because they still have to go back to work.
And if we notice, many of the villages were set up around the sea. You look at Bethesda, you look at English Harbor, You look at the villages, Setons and so on, they wanted to get closer to the sea. They could do their fishing and whatever else they wanted to do. The school that started in the community, that school for slaves in 1813, it was said that, or it has been said, that it was like a healing place of healing for those who were coming from the estates, some of them bruised, broken. Finding a place of comfort, a place where they felt safe. And so the name Bethesda came about.
The Bethesda School was the first school in all of the British West Indies where slaves built it and slaves were educated.
First, the school was called Bethesda, then the community and the church took on that name, Bethesda.
But contrary to the commonly held account just told, the idea of formally educating the slaves emanated from the ambitions of the slaves themselves.
I was lucky enough to meet the descendants of the Thwaites family. They live in the UK. And in conversation with the lady, she keeps saying, okay, on this side we're saying, look, we were happy that your great-great-great-grandfather chose here to educate slaves. And she kept saying she have notes from her grandfather. And the notes that she read said that Mr. Thwaites at the time, he was approached by the slave, the guy Blake. So she keeps saying, no, it started with you, not with us. The guy Blake, he went to Mr. Thwaites and he said, look, why don't you educate us? And then Mr. Thwaites said to him, well, if you can get that past the slave owner, then I will educate you. So she keeps saying, it's not us educating you, it's you asked for the education.
The emergence of Christian Hill was somewhat different too and precedes that of Bethesda. It is believed that the name was adopted from the name of English planter Matthew Christian, who came to Antigua in 1699. Originally, Christian Hill was a portion of land in the Red Hill area, but when people began erecting homes on the adjoining Cochrane's and Fry's estates, the whole area became known as Christian Hill. Despite being free and having access to religion and education, the residues of slavery still tainted the people and it compromised their economic stability. They continued to work on the estates. Wages were paltry, and the entire family had to toil just to make ends meet. This affected the villagers' ability to take full advantage of the available education.
Even though the level of poverty was quite high, the people didn't think of themselves as being poor. They just knew that that's what they had, and they tried to make the best of it. The housing situation was not good.
Some of the house over there in the early, they just have some 1 or 2 trash house like.
Me can remember that me born in one Watland Dab. Remember Watland Dab? With the trash pan top. I sleep on the mall floor.
And others have wood board, which is what they call the Govan tongue type of board.
Well, a two big stone house. It's stone and wood panta for the house, with inside paper on the wallpaper. And you know, under them paper there, a whole ton of bugs underneath them there. All them biting and sucking insects like bed bugs and scorpion and centipede coming at them, the old house. You can't keep them out because you got hole underneath the door where them go crawl under and then go bite you. But before all of that, you got mosquito up the big like young grasshopper. When they land on you, you feel them. And when they take blood from you, you just look at the blood bank. And they take out, when they move the blood from you, you feel like you want to faint. So the mosquito, why is, a mosquito, a small, little, droopy mosquito when I take nothing from you. But out there, out there, dread. But what me just do? Me just take up one of the old sugar bag, and me gone in that day, and me tie up here. So, nothing can bite me.
Over time, the material from which the houses in the village were constructed improved.
You used to have houses that were made of concrete.
I think it's the hurricane 1950 when they get some house from England and they build some 12 by 16 or so wall house on the western side.
Despite the people of Bethesda Christian Hill's inability to fully capitalize on the available educational opportunities, they were able to cultivate strong values through the lives they lived.
A typical day, you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and you have to go to pasture to look after cows. Nobody wakes you up. You don't hear a clock alarming.
We have to go pick cotton after school. We have to make certain we're full. If a tree jump of water must full before you go sleep.
And we have to go and look broom to sweep the yard.
My mother was very, 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 very particular with cleaning a house. You used to have to clean the yard, sweep the yard, scrub the floor. When they say scrub the floor, get down on your knees, scrub the floor.
In Christian Hill, you had a lady above me. She lived in a Watland Dab house. But you would want to eat, sleep, and do anything there because that lady was one of the cleanest persons in the entire community. Every single day she would get up, and if one leaf fell last night, she would be sweeping.
One of the obstacles to keeping up their hygienic practices was that it was rather difficult to obtain water.
If water was scarce, a drought, you will have to go to the spring. If the spring was not springing to accommodate all the people, you would have to go to the pond or to a dam, and the dam or the pond may be quite a distance from where you are.
Even though we didn't have pipe-borne water at first, I found it fascinating that people were so disciplined that there was a pond. It was to the east of Blake's, right, that pond right there. And with all the animals around, nobody would take the animals to that pond because it was understood that that pond was for potable water. And so that's where people would go and get the water clear, nice, clean, and they bring the water home, put it in the jar pot. I don't know if people know what a jar pot is, but this is a clay pot, a big clay pot. And if you put water in it and you cover it, it kept it cool.
We had horse gut, country pan, bamboo pan, Joe gut.
We go to Blake pan, we go to Fry pan, we go to Lion Hill. We go to Fry water.
Once they got the water, it was used for various chores like cooking and washing. But there was very definite roles as to who did what.
Taking care of clothes as it relates to cleaning and washing, that was primarily done by your mother or the sister or sisters within the family. You will never, never find the men associated with that.
Some women use their laundry skills to supplement the family's income.
My mother worked on the estates. She also did washing for some people, just trying to make ends meet for the family.
They would take the clothes and they would go to, there was a spring. To the east of the village, where they would go and get water, and they would wash the clothes.
The rough type of clothes like the khaki and the dungaree, the older folks would use the clay from the side to wash.
And you would be surprised to see how using clay on a white shirt could bring it extremely white.
And the lighter linen, they will use like the common soap to do the washing.
Your parents, along with yourself, would have to go to that water source, meaning the pond or the dam, to actually wash the clothes there, put them on the line. The line at that time would be cassie trees.
And they will go from morning, sometime maybe for a whole day, to wash the clothes.
And don't talk about the ironing. There was a day for washing, a day for starching, and a day for ironing. And it was not the fancy irons, the coals and the sod irons.
Not everybody could own a goose. And the older folks used to wash the clothes and put it under the bed and lie in it. And in the morning they get up, it will straighten out. You could put it on and wear it. It may not be of the best, but a little good enough that you can wear it.
Laundry was